Alright. What is going on, everybody? Alec the Cleric here, and I am here producing my very first build video. For those of you who do not know, I am an AMARA fanatic when it comes to Borderlands 3. I really enjoy AMARA as a character. I just really like the way that she plays. I love the kind of spellcastery type characters. I've always been very much a big fan of the sirens, and AMARA is by far one of the strongest sirens that I think we have ever gotten in Borderlands. So I really enjoy playing AMARA. The build I'm going to show you today is what I am calling my SlamAmara build. It is a gun damage build for AMARA, which I know is not typical of most AMARA builds. AMARA builds typically try to take advantage of the fact that AMARA has some of the best skill damage in the game. And this build certainly does take advantage of that skill damage and her ability to use skills. If you hear some baby noises in the background, it's because I've got Oliver joining me here today, the tiny cleric. So if you hear baby noises, that's Oliver. But this build specifically tries to take full advantage of the fact that AMARA actually can have really good gun damage. You just have to build towards a very specific anointment. AMARA has one of the most powerful anointments still left in the game, and that is this. The after using phase slam, weapon damage is increased by 300% for a short time. Almost every other anointment in the game that gave weapon damage percentage for a short time got nerfed a little bit while back. The only ones that didn't really get touched were the very specific class-oriented ones, like Gravity Snare, Phase Slam. AMARA's Phase Slam, though, is the highest. The Gravity Snare is at 250% for a short time. Phase Slam is at 300%. So you get a lot of gun damage when you use this anointment plus Phase Slam on AMARA. So I wanted to create a slam build that would take full advantage of this. Let's start off in the purple tree here. In the purple tree, it's not a very important tree, but there is a skill in the purple tree that is very important to this build. So I like to drop 5 points into heavy rain to start with, just to get that extra little bit of splash damage. It's a really nice little skill to have there, and an easy 5 points. I also like to put 5 points into Trust Yourself, just kind of as a throwaway skill to give us Expedite. Expedite is very important for keeping your action skill available to be used more often. So Expedite is what I go for in the purple tree, which is why you put 10 points in the purple tree in order to get down to Expedite. The rest of the purple tree is really melee centric, so it's not very important. Let's move on to the blue tree. Here I go ahead and put 5 points in Do Harm. Then we go 5 points in 3 points rather in Transcend to max that out, and then the full 5 into Restless. Again, just to be able to keep the action skill up, Transcend to give us the extra gun damage, and Do Harm to make good use of the rush stacks that we are going to get. Go ahead and throw the point into Ascend so that your action skill augments gain increased effectiveness. And then for the additional couple of points, you can throw it into pretty much anything you want to. I went ahead and threw a point into Fast Hands just to get the reload speed and weapon swap, but you could throw a point into Violent Tapestry if you want to, or the other skill. It really doesn't matter. You just want to get down to this next area down here so that you could do the 3 full points in Wrath for the extra gun damage, the points in Laid Bare for increased damage, and then you want to do the full 3 points into Remnant. Awakening is okay, but I like to just throw that remaining 1 point into From Rest for the extra fire rate and charge time, because Malawan guns are very good on this build. And then you want to capstone this ability out for Avatar. This is very important because Avatar lets you use the action skill while your action skill is on cooldown. So in effectiveness, you will get 2 slams, therefore 2 activations of that anointment without your action skill being off cooldown. Avatar is very important for this build, so make sure that you capstone out the blue tree, and this is the way that I recommend that you capstone it out. Now we move on to the orange tree. There's a bit of a debate whether Anima or Infusion is better. For gun damage builds on AMARA, I prefer to go Anima, simply because if you put points into Infusion, that is going to lower your gun damage slightly because it converts some of that gun damage into status effects for your element. It's not super important either way. Both ways will give you really good damage out of this build. I've tested both ways and I prefer Anima, but just so that you are aware, by putting points into Anima, you do raise the likelihood that you could down yourself with status effects, because this can trigger onto you as well. So if you don't want to take that risk, maybe just do the 5 points in infusion instead. Either way is very good. I like both of these skills quite a bit, but for this build, I like to go anima so we don't lose any gun damage. Then you are going to go a full 5 points into Tempest for the increased elemental damage, and then drop your 1 point into Dread so that you get the extra gun damage. Now that does only apply when an enemy is grasped. However, for this build, you can switch in between Slam and Ties That Bind if you want to do that for more mobbing purposes, just because Ties That Bind when mobbing is a little bit faster. So having that 1 point in Dread is not a bad idea. For the last points we need, I like to go 1 point in Wildfire, just because it doesn't trigger that often for me. And then I go 3 points into Steady Hands for the extra accuracy. Moving on now, you're going to throw 1 point into Deep Well for the extra mag size on your elemental damage. That's great for Amara. The full 3 points into Indiscriminate. Indiscriminate is a skill that I feel is one of the most powerful in the game. Basically, it allows Amara to turn any weapon into a Jacob's weapon. You're going to get bouncing with Malawan weapons, which means your plasma coil will now reflect all over the map. You're going to get bouncing with your light shows. You're going to get bouncing with basically everything you could possibly want. Indiscriminate is stupid powerful, so you definitely want to put all 3 points you can into that. Then I drop 1 point into Catharsis. It's not a super important skill, but it does get us down to the more important skills down here. So go ahead and drop a point in Catharsis, or you could move that point up to Infusion. Go the full 5 in Sustainment, so that way you are able to keep your health up by using a Hex Grenade or another Elemental Grenade. Amara is very difficult to kill when she has a full 5 points into Sustainment. So definitely make sure that you have that skill maxed out. And then Capstone, Forceful Expression. That way you get bonus elemental damage based on her action skill element to your weapons. And since you are Amara, you're going to be wanting to use a lot of elemental weapons, so Forceful Expression, always great. Honestly, this blue and orange tree that I do on Amara is basically my building blocks of every Amara build that I like to rock. It's very simple, and it gives you really nice effects. For the remaining points, I like to put 3 into Personal Space, 2 points into Clarity, so that I can get down to Samsara. Samsara is another very overlooked ability that Amara has. When she deals damage to an enemy with her action skill, she adds a stack of Samsara. You get extra gun damage and extra health regen for every stack of Samsara. With this build, it's very easy to stack Samsara almost immediately, and so you are going to burn the heck out of enemies with the extra gun damage and the extra health regen, which has an effect on sustainment. So you become much harder to kill, and you are killing a lot faster. One thing I would say about this build is that if you don't plan on using Expedite and you want to use another augment in its place, take that extra 5 points out of the purple tree and throw them here into Arms Deal, because that is going to give you additional splash damage. Splash damage is very good on Amara. You're going to want that if you so choose. Make sure you choose Slam as your actual action skill, and there you have it. That is the actual skill tree. Now, like I said, if you want to, you can go Arms Deal instead of that additional 5 points for Expedite, but I find that Expedite allows you to keep your action skill up a little bit faster. So why do I like this build as opposed to something like a Ties That Bind build? Well, simply put, this gives you the most gun damage. Now, it's not going to be as good at mobbing. However, it doesn't have the weakness that Ties That Bind builds does, which Ties That Bind builds are very strong, but they are not the strongest at bossing, especially when you are in a boss arena where you only have one enemy. For example, Haunt in the Heck Hole, or any of the Trants really, or any boss that is solitary in their arena and doesn't spawn in mobs. It kind of hurts your build a lot when you're relying on being able to grasp a whole bunch of people at once, and you can't do that. So this kind of mitigates that. I don't have to worry about that, and it's pretty good still at mobbing, especially with the other skills that Amara has, which I'm demonstrating here in the Slaughter Shaft. I'm taking this build straight into the Slaughter Shaft Mayhem 11, and yeah, as you can see, you can pretty easily clear everything. It's not going to clear as quickly as a Ties build, but the beautiful thing about this build again is if you want to, you can just switch over to Ties That Bind and you're not going to lose a ton. especially if you are using powerful gear alongside that anointment. Again, this build is mostly just to take advantage of the fact that AMARA still has a very busted anointment that is left in the game. Were they ever to nerf the damage output that you get on Phase Slam, or take that anointment out of the game entirely, then this build is kind of moot, and I would probably just go back to doing full ties that bind. But if you want something that's going to let you play AMARA and have great gun damage, and the other beautiful thing is, as you can see here, I'm using a Lucian's Call. Like, this isn't even one of the most powerful guns in the game. It's a very good gun, but it's not one of the most powerful guns in the game. But with that anointment on it, you can melt pretty much everything, even with a gun that is less than ideal as far as power level goes. It turns almost any gun into a very, very viable option for AMARA. This is why I like this ability for AMARA. It opens up the door for viability for weapons that may not have been viable on her to begin with, and lets you do some really fun things with those guns. But also it just makes the guns that are already busted even more busted for gun damage, like the Tizzy, the Plasma Coil, the Hellwalker. The Butcher does amazing on this build with this anointment. There's a lot of things that you can do with this anointment. It's very versatile. It is a really good build for shotguns, just because Slam does get you right in the face of your enemies, and if you're using Laid Bare, then you're going to get more damage the closer you are. So this is an excellent shotgun SMG build. If you prefer assault rifles, the Soul Render or either of the Call weapons are very good on this build as well. Another AR that you don't want to sleep on with this build is the Breath of the Dying. If you're able to get the Breath of the Dying with this anointment, it can clear an entire arena very, very, very quickly, especially with the after effect. So don't sleep on the Breath of the Dying when it comes to this build. That is a very excellent legendary AR for this build. Again though, the main guns that you're going to want to use on this build are shotguns and SMGs and pistols. Anything that's going to get you close while dealing a crazy amount of damage, that's what you want to be using. It's not a great sniper build, just for those of you that love snipers. And yeah, that's my first build video. Hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure to hit that like and hit subscribe if you want more videos from me. I'm going to be posting a lot of stuff here between now and Wonderlands, and once Wonderlands releases, there's going to be even more content on this channel. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video today. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video today, but it is now time for the temple to close. Please join me live Monday, Wednesday, Friday over at twitch.tv/AlecTheCleric. We have a lot of laughs, we have a lot of good times. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and as always, be excellent to each other, and I will see you all in the next video.